Okay guys, welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be doing a little bit of plastering. Now I've been doing quite a bit in this room here, and basically what we're doing is like a basement conversion, dry lining the walls and skimming them with skim. So I'm just going to, I've been meaning to do like a plastering video for a while, but never get round to it because it's a very dusty wet job, and you know it's kind of like I need to do a wall where I can basically show you some basics of plastering. Now, first thing you need to learn is how to mix your stuff. What you need is a decent consistency so that it isn't too runny and it isn't too thick, because unless you've got arms like a bodybuilder, you will tire yourself out if it is too thick. Equally, if it's too runny, you won't be able to pick it up off the board like that, and that's another thing that you learn, is how to pick it up off the board. Now this is probably a little bit too runny, but I'll manage with this today. We're only doing this section of the wall here. Now like I said, this has been dry lined. We have been doing a little bit of skimming. I've lowered the ceiling slightly because there's a load of central heating pipes behind all this, and obviously continue with that through the rest of the ceiling. So again, basic principles: get your mix right, get yourself a trowel. Now there's a lot of videos out there, various different techniques of plastering. Most have opinions about trowels and what to use. You will see speed skimming, you will see people using sponges, you will see using 3 or 4 different trowels for different things. I will be using one trowel from start to finish today, and this is what's called a Ragini. It is a stainless steel trowel, which means it won't rust, and it is ground edged one, because normally when you buy a new trowel you end up having to sand the edges of it so that it gives a nicer finish. My dad was a plasterer by trade. Never used anything else but one trowel from start to finish, which is the way I've been taught to do it. And I do appreciate that there are a lot of different techniques out there and a lot of different plasterers doing different jobs. Unfortunately, you know, I don't get into that 3 or 4 different trowel things, because at the end of the day I've been doing this a long time, so I'm not going to blame my tools for doing a crap job. So that being said, I'll just move on to another subject now, just to digress. There are a lot of people who leave stupid comments and basically derogative comments on other people's videos as well as mine. I quite often just delete them because I don't think anybody's interested in your opinion, and you'll probably come back and say, oh, you're doing it wrong, you're doing it wrong. Oh well, you know, it's not about who's doing it right or wrong, it's about what the job looks like. I wouldn't be as busy as I am with my job if I didn't do the job right. So at the end of the day, you can say what you like. If you're prepared to knock a man down, then you must be prepared to build him back up again, otherwise that makes you a bully, and you shouldn't be on these how-to videos if you know it all anyway. So that's enough said about that. I said my piece, and there we go. So like I said, picking it up off the board is one of the things you do, like that. I'm doing it a bit quick there. Like I said, it is a little bit runny, but we'll manage with this today. First thing you need to do is, if you've got angle bead, now this was a little bit off when we put it on, so we're going to compensate for that now. So the first thing you need to do is get it on the wall. You need to get a bit on your trowel like that, find it about halfway up, bring it in to about that angle and start bringing it up. Now I call that a rainbow, some would call it an arc. Next one, you need to come about halfway across where you've just come and do the same again, bring it up and back down. And what you're doing there is getting it to basically overlap a bit. It's a bit like spraying, and hopefully I'm getting a bit of drag there, because with me There we go. clean the back edge of the trowel, it gets it a bit smoother. Just a little bit of drag on it there. Yeah. So you do the same again. And round. And down. And down. Up and down. So this first coat, you will have to put 2 coats on. Like I say, this is a little bit runny. I could do with putting another trowel, but not doing that. So to get it to come down is to bring it down like this. If you want to get it better into the cracks there, just give your trowel a little jiggle and it will go in, as the nun said to the priest. And there again, you can just run your trowel across the top like that. It's best to do it like that. Just give it a little jiggle, it goes in. That's how my dad used to do it. He had a lot of experience doing that, and then bring it down like this. So this being the first coat, not overly bothered what it looks like, because we will this is the chance socket, we move it, just go around it. So once this is out, so I tend to transfer it down out of the plastic, it is something you can do out there, back in there. You can take off the control, and you run it up with plastic, get right between the drag, just crack it, and get the surface all nice and even for, it basically screen boards to the gap, so it's to crack it, think looking boards, or anything like that. So when you go home, just bear this in mind, that again back in the day when my dad was doing this, he would have put the skating boards on first. If you ever work in an old house and you take the skating boards off, there is no plaster behind them, there are no plaster boards, it is just usually you find wooden pegs, wedges wedged into the seams of the brickwork or stonework, and absolutely no plaster or anything behind it. Now the reason I say that is these days we fit the skating boards after, and obviously that's something that I do, is fit skating boards as a joiner. And one thing that really annoys me with plasterers is how they finish the bottom edge. Just to give you an example, let's say this line here is the bottom edge. This is what they do. This is an exaggeration, but you see how much that sticks out. So once you smooth it out, you get a nice flat finish with it. And it's like I say, what they do is do that. Again, exaggeration. And it leaves a nasty bump at the bottom, which has to be chipped off, which can damage the plaster on the wall. And obviously you can't fit the skirting board to the wall with that bump because you get that rock, so you need to get the surface as flat as possible. It really is annoying that they do that, but yes, it's probably more difficult at the bottom because you're not at eye level, but you should be able to feel the wall through your trowel, and obviously if you've got the surface flat you should be able to feel that through your trowel. So this is the wall more or less done. What we need to do is we just need to smooth it out a bit. Like I say, this is quite runny, so it's not gone off quite enough yet. What you need to do is let that go off and just tidy up the edges, get some of the lines out of it, fill in the hollows and get it ready for the second coat. So I'm going to stop the video for now. So this is about ready for its first trowel look, and with a nice clean trowel, I do use like a soft brush as well. Just try and bring, what we're basically doing here is getting some of the tram lines out, so we've just created one there, and also filling in any of the hollows that there might still be. And the reason we use this brush is to do this, is to clean up the edges. So this is the first coat, just to remind you, and what we're doing there is cleaning up the edges, because what we don't want is lumps of plaster being dragged down from the top. Now this is a little bit of an awkward space here because of this socket, so you have to just use a bit of initiative and start squaring up around the socket. So if you look at the corner of the socket there, if you put your trowel away and bring it away like that and then bring it down, you more or less get the surface square, and just using those edges of the trowel you can help surface that one off. It's just about right is this now for doing this first trowel up. And it gets it nice and straight. So there's still a few lines in it there, it's just a little bit too wet there, and where the water's run down, just run it down. Bring it down. Looks nice that now, nearly ready. So you probably noticed I've done the other wall as well. I'm going to bring them round together. That's what your brush does, cleans up the edges. So this is about ready for the grease coat. So you're just applying it the same principle as the first coat. I'm just running that in the edge first, and again halfway. Once this is nearly set, and we'll trowel it up. So we're about ready to get this troweled up again. So it's back to the same principle of just leveling it off. Still a bit wet in that corner, but most of it is ready. So once again, just a case of leveling it out with your trowel, filling in the hollows if you've got any. Little one, no pressure at all. There we go. So it needs to go off a little bit more, it's still a bit soft in places. It's not quite right in places, but that being said, you have to try and remember where they are to do this. So what I'm doing in the corners here is I'm setting the corner up, so I'm just basically putting the trowel into the edge and bringing it in. Now obviously because I've plastered the other surface it makes it more difficult because your knuckles can quite catch on the surface there. But a bit of practice, you get used to it and you get a nice clean corner. You may notice lines start appearing in your plaster, and this is because of this back edge here. So when you're drawing it up, it drags on the back there. If it's plaster, you see that lump of plaster there and across here. That can cause lines in your plasterwork when you think. Now it's not so much an issue, some people might make an issue out of it, because obviously if you're putting wet plaster on you can get it back out quite easily. You may have noticed as well as holding the trowel closer to the wall round about there, bringing it up, and you can bring it in a bit nearer, and that will help you get the wall smooth. So if you look at this wall now, it's all nice and smooth, there's not many lines in it, so when we give this another trowel up, once it's gone off a bit more, you'll start seeing a difference in how clean it comes up. So I've got this wall at the back to do to trowel up as well, and then we'll wait for that on the wall. Just give it a tap with your finger, but if you notice I'm coming across here, it suddenly decides to leave a little bit of a print there. Now don't worry about the marks, they'll come out with the trowel. But once it's like this is when you need to start troweling, just to get some of, well, you can still work with it before it goes off to get some of the imperfections out of it before you get to your final trowel. So we'll do that now, and we're going to have to be careful around this area here because this side of it isn't quite gone off yet, hasn't quite gone off yet, so might start at that side and come this way, and by the time I get to that it should be alright. The dry float up. So again I'm just carefully going into the corner with the edge of the trowel, bringing it across. And we do the same around the socket. So bring the ceiling down a bit first, and then try and, it needs a little bit of water. So bits of it have gone off and bits of it haven't, so it's almost ready. I'm going to do the back wall now as well, and then I'm just going to come back to. So more or less ready for another trowel up. Still a bit wet in that top corner, but we'll persevere around it. won't make any difference to how the wall is finished. So I'll give it a good spray because I want to lubricate the wall. Looks really nice when it's wet, does the wall. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start at the bottom and just applying a bit of pressure. Bringing that across. Now when you look at it in the light, you should be able to see any hollows or any imperfections in it, so you know where you need to go over again to get it straight. But the key is to keep the plaster wet while you're doing this. Don't want to go too heavy with the water. You can feel the trowel glide over it. Now if you do it while it's dry, what will happen is you will, I'll see if I can get it to do it. It won't do it. Anyway, it will go like that because it's dragging the surface. You don't get behind it. Trowel match door, and because it's still up to the habit so the trowel, do what it's supposed to do, and the trowel up. So, this is my second class trowel with it now, because if I want, it's going to be able to do it. We will be using what I call the back edge of the trowel, which is this here, and the angle of the trowel will change again because we are using different parts of the trowel. So that is more or less done. I'm going to try and do something with this where it's not going off. I mean, it is what it is, isn't it? Just give this another 20 minutes or so, and I reckon this will be ready for its final trowel. I've managed to sort this corner out a bit, and that will sit up quite nicely. I do have a little fan heater going here, so I'll just direct that into there for a minute to help it along the way, and it should be fine. So, right, probably see the wall, you would think, yeah, that's straight, what are you going to do now? And it's gone off. You can tell by how it's drying now. There's like some dark patches appearing. So what we're doing now, this plaster's really hard now. So what we're going to do is do a pass with the trowel. But I mean, what's going to happen now is we're going to use the edge of the trowel, mainly try and get it a bit further down the edge of that side and that side, so that the trowel there's not as much angle on the trowel. So good idea to dry your hands off. Make sure the trowel is a little bit dry. You need to apply a bit of pressure to this to do this. So what we're going to do is start spraying. What you want is the wall to be wet. Now you can use a brush to brush it on, or you can use one of those hand pump sprays. You could use a sponge, I suppose. I have seen people do this with sponges and all sorts. Not that I'm disagreeing with the way they do it. This is the way I do it. Now this is what I like to do. I always start from the bottom and work my way across. So starting at the bottom, a little bit of pressure, and as you can see the angle of the trowel is further out, so like I said I am using and there we go. You see, scrape some more off. And if you're wondering why you get a little bit out of breath, is because you'll probably burn, if you do a house in one day, you'll burn between 4,000 and 5,000 calories doing plastering. So it's a really good workout. But this is what the effect you get by doing it. So, you know guys, that is my way of plastering a wall. And the same principle applies if you're doing the ceiling. Ceilings are a lot harder to do because you're working at that height, doing the passes over your head or to the side, and you know it is a little bit harder and it's more arm aching than doing a wall. Walls are generally easier to do. So yeah, but that is how you do it. It's a 2-coat system, it's plaster. Like I say, first coat on, get it as level as you can, and then get your second coat, the grease coat as I call it, and same principle, trowel it up, let it go off in stages, trowel it up, and you'll end up with a nice smooth finish ready for decorating. That can be painted, no more sanding. It's always worth, if you are going to paint it, to use some cheap emulsion paint. It can be magnolia if you want, white. Water it down. If it's cheap, it's probably already been watered down, but water it down to around a 40-60 mix, 50-50, 50% water, 50% paint. So it's nice and thin. Get it on, and then that's called your mist coat, and then you can do that about 2-3 times with a mist coat, and then you can apply whatever colour you want onto it, and it will stick to the plaster better and you will get a nice finish on your paint. If you want really good finish on your paint, spray it. Same again, mist coats, and again sand any lumps off that you might come across off your roller, because rollers and paints can get lumps in it. It's a good idea to clean your floor up as well. Like I said earlier, when you are doing the plaster at the bottom, try and level the bottom edge up. Quite a lot of plasterers don't do that, and it makes it awkward for fitting skating boards, so remember that. So there you go, plastering the wall. Simple, isn't it really? It's a bit time consuming. Obviously you've got your drying times to take into consideration, but there you go, that's part of work, is that. So yeah, hope you enjoyed the video, hope you got something out of it. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and we'll catch you in another video soon. So thanks for watching guys.